In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, on a remote island, there is an entire city built on top of the water. Nearly 100 artificial islands, separated by canals, all raised with millions of tons of giant columns of volcanic rock, some weighing 50 tons, stacked like logs of wood. It was built around 900 years ago, in a place with no metal, no wheel, and no obvious technology for hauling stone across the sea. And the local legend says the stones flew there. This is the Mystery Archive, NAN MADOL, the Venice of the Pacific. The only ancient city in the world built on a coral reef, in the middle of the ocean. Today I separate what science has figured out from what remains a logistical enigma nobody has reproduced. Open the file with me. First, where we are. NAN MADOL sits off the island of Pohnpei, in Micronesia, one of the most isolated corners of the planet. The name means roughly the spaces between, a reference to the canals that cut through the city. It was the ceremonial and political center of the Sodelur dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei for centuries. Kings, priests and nobles lived there, surrounded by salt water on every side. And the construction is the astonishment. NAN MADOL is made of basalt columns, volcanic rock that forms naturally in long, straight hexagonal columns, almost like beams handed over ready-made by nature. The builders stacked those columns in crossed layers, the way you build a log cabin or a bonfire, creating platforms and walls up to 7 or 8 meters high. No mortar. Only weight and interlocking hold it together. Now the numbers that stun. NAN MADOL is estimated to contain around 750,000 tons of basalt, distributed across nearly 100 artificial islets built on the reef. Individual columns weigh from 5 to 50 tons. And the cruel detail, the most likely basalt quarry sits on the far side of Pohnpei Island, or even on neighboring islands, dozens of kilometers away, across open sea. And there is the central enigma science still debates. How did they transport 750,000 tons of basalt by sea, without cranes, without metal, without the wheel, and without large ships? 50-ton columns crossing kilometers of ocean in canoes? The calculations show it would take a colossal effort sustained across generations. The main hypothesis, bamboo rafts, using high tide to float the stone, then dragging it with fiber ropes. Plausible, but nobody has ever reproduced the feat with a 50-ton column. The local legend offers its own answer, and it is beautiful. According to the oral tradition of Pohnpei, 2 sorcerer brothers, Olisipa and Olasopa, built NAN MADOL using magic, making the giant stones fly through the air to their places, guided by a dragon. For centuries, the inhabitants explained the impossible the only way that made sense. If no man could carry that, then it was supernatural power. It is the same answer humanity gives before any engineering too large to grasp. So let us go to what science does answer. Carbon dating shows the main construction happened between the 12th and 13th centuries, though occupation of the site is far older. There is no mystery about who built it, the people of Pohnpei, the Sodelur dynasty, with a powerful social organization capable of mobilizing thousands of workers across generations. The supernatural of the legend is, in reality, the signature of a society far more organized and ingenious than anyone assumed for an isolated Pacific island. And the hydraulic engineering is underrated. NAN MADOL is not just stacked stone. It has a system of canals that fill and empty with the tides, breakwaters protecting the city from waves, and islets with specific functions, one for the priests, one for preparing food, one that was a pool for sacred turtles, and even a royal tomb on a central island. It is a planned city on the water, with zoning, in a place where building anything at all is a challenge. But what science does not close completely is still the logistics at real scale. It is one thing to accept that rafts and tides allow basalt to be moved. It is another to explain, in detail, how an island people without metal moved 750,000 tons, including 50-ton columns, across open sea, and stacked them with precision 8 meters high on an unstable reef. Every modern attempt to estimate the effort arrives at numbers that strain the island population of the time. The exact how remains the heart of the enigma. And there is the mystery of the END. Around the 17th century, Nan Madol was abandoned. The Sodelur dynasty fell, the population of the region declined, and the city on the water was swallowed by jungle and sea. Nobody knows exactly why: wars, climate shifts, resource exhaustion. Today the ruins sit half submerged, covered in mangrove, in a disturbing silence. Locals avoid spending the night there. They say the spirits of the kings still guard the city. We should confront the alien legend, because Nan Madol became a target too. No, it was not extraterrestrials, nor a lost continent called Muir Lemuria. Nan Madol is the work of the ancestors of the current inhabitants of Pohnpei, a human feat, Polynesian and Micronesian, of organization and engineering. Crediting aliens is, once again, erasing the merit of an island people who did the nearly impossible with fiber, stone, and tide. The mystery is not who helped them. It is the scale of what they achieved alone, in the middle of nowhere. The name of the island itself holds a clue. Pohnpei means, roughly, upon a stone altar, as if the whole island carried, in its name, the memory of the impossible city built on the water. And tradition speaks of an even older and stranger city, Connemweso, supposedly submerged in the waters beside Nan Madol, a city beneath the city that divers occasionally claim to glimpse, and that archaeology has neither confirmed nor ruled out. And the threat today is time itself. Nan Madol is degrading fast, mangrove roots crack the walls, tides erode the foundations, and the tropical climate accelerates everything. UNESCO placed the site on the list of World Heritage in danger. There is a race against the clock to document and stabilize the city before the sea and the jungle reclaim what the Sodelur took from them 900 years ago. The mystery could be lost before it is solved. To put the feat in Pacific context, the same seafaring peoples who colonized islands thousands of kilometers apart, with only canoes and the stars, also raised the moai on Easter Island and the platforms of Tonga. Nan Madol is part of that same oceanic genius, a civilization of the water that mastered both sea and stone at scales we, from the continents, struggle to imagine. It is not an isolated miracle. It is the signature of a people who made the impossible routine. The scoreboard of facts. Confirmed, Nan Madol exists, nearly 100 artificial islets, around 750,000 tons of basalt, columns up to 50 tons stacked without mortar, built by the Sodelur dynasty between the 12th and 13th centuries, with a canal system and urban zoning, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. None of this depends on the supernatural. Still open, the exact method of transporting heavy basalt by sea, how they stacked columns of tens of tons 8 meters high on the reef, and the precise causes of the abandonment. The ruins degrade fast in the tropical climate, and much has never been excavated. Nan Madol holds chapters under the mangrove and the water that may never be read. My verdict for this file: Nan Madol is the reminder that an advanced civilization needs neither metal nor the wheel. A Pacific people, on one of the most isolated islands on Earth, raised a city on the ocean with stone columns the size of cars, and governed it for centuries. The legend says the stones flew. The truth is more impressive: they were carried, one, by human hands driven by faith and by power. The beautiful mystery of Nan Madol is not the magic. It is the stubbornness of building in the most improbable place in the world, and succeeding. It is worth pausing on how the canals actually worked, because that is the part engineers admire most. Nan Madol is not a solid platform. It is a grid of islets separated by waterways that fill and drain with the tide. Canoes moved between the islets the way carts move down a street. That means the builders did not just stack stone, they rid the tides, planned the water flow, and used the ocean itself as the road network of the city. And there is a social detail that explains the whole project. The Sodalur dynasty required the chiefs of the island to live at Nan Madol, under the eye of the ruler. It was not just a ceremonial capital, it was a way of keeping rivals close and controlled. The city on the water was, in practice, a gilded cage. That political function is probably what justified the astronomical cost of building it. The tombs deserve their own mention. On the islet of Nan Madol sits the royal mortuary compound, with walls up to 8 meters high built from those same basalt logs. Inside, a central vault held the remains of the rulers. Standing in that enclosure today, with mangrove roots cracking the walls and water lapping at the base, is reportedly one of the eeriest experiences in Pacific archaeology. And one last figure to grasp the scale, the basalt at Nan Madol weighs more than the stone used in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Let that sit for a moment. A small island society, with a population in the tens of thousands at most, moved a greater mass of rock than the civilization that built the pyramids, and did it across water, without the wheel, without metal, and without draft animals. That comparison alone should end any doubt about what these people were capable of. And you? Do you bet on the rafts and tides, or do you think a piece is still missing to explain 750,000 tons in the middle of the sea? And why do you think they abandoned such an impressive city? Leave your verdict in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell, a new mystery every day, and a full file every week. The archive never really closes.